We're going to record. There we go. Awesome. Brilliant. Oh. Hello, everybody.
What a gorgeous day.
It is. It is a lovely day, which is fantastic.
I have been quite itchy, which is probably on topic.
So it could be a useful conversation then.
It's been so hot.
A bit of pollen going on.
I think it was because I got hot, because I've been out walking. It's really sunny, so I've had cap on. I've had tried to cover up my neck, and I had long sleeves on because I've been doing UVB therapy as well, and I don't want to get sunburnt. So I was hot, but actually coped with it better than I thought I would.
Good. Good.
Meant I couldn't scratch so much because I was completely covered up and I was with someone else. So there's that distraction there.
I know.
Yeah, it wasn't actually as itchy as I thought it would be, but I was on the drive back. But that was my anxiety of, gotta get back in time. And
Maybe late.
Very itchy.
You know, and then also, I always found that for me, the sweating was more itchy than the actual.
Yeah, and my car was hot. And I did use something to scratch with, which I don't normally have things available, so then I can't. But there was a sandwich clip, you know, those things. And I'm afraid I did use that to scratch my arm with. Felt really good.
We're so ingenious, aren't we?
But it hasn't done too much damage. Oh, I thought I was going to come on this call and say I never scratch, but I'm afraid I do, hands up. But I'm getting better. And I have lots of techniques for not doing it.
Exactly. I think that's the thing, because when people go to the doctors, have these questions, if you've never experienced it, you can't help with that, basically. So
no.
And I think this is where a lot of the questions come from, because unless somebody's actually dealt with itching at such a severe level, there's just no comprehension.
There isn't. And you can't just say stop scratching to someone.
Oh no.
It's the worst thing to say, because you just can't. You can't just stop.
No.
You can stop scratching, but it's taken me a long time to learn how to, and sometimes I still can't if it's really intense.
No.
To be able to stop scratching, there are ways of dealing with it, but there are also things you need to sort out in order to stop yourself being so itchy.
Yeah, and one of the things as well I just want to mention while we're here, because obviously, you're adult, I'm adult, but when you're a kid with this, that stop scratching instruction from a parent, big no really, because what you're asking your kid to do is the impossible. And they can't. You're asking them to do something that they can't do, and then depending obviously on what else is going on, they're forever then trying to be like, oh my goodness, I need to do what my parents are asking me.
It was like a punishment, and I did get smacked, not a lot, but I did get smacked to stop me scratching, and I did get told off a lot for scratching and told to stop scratching, and so then felt like I was bad. Felt like I was doing a bad thing. I was naughty.
Yeah.
And it was so hard not to do it, and I just used to really beat myself up. I found a lovely little poem, which I guess I could read out if we've got time.
Yeah.
That I wrote when I was about 12.
Oh, have you got it there?
Not actually here, but it is in the other room. Should I go and grab it? It's only just come into my head. I'll go and grab it.
Yeah, go grab it. I think while Ruth's grabbing that, remember guys, if you are here live, if you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box to us, just so that we can pick any of those up for you. And likewise, if you're struggling with itching or you've got little ones, let us know.
Oh, it's so hard with little ones. I used to sit on the potty and scratch.
Yeah, and 2 legs at the same time, that's the other thing.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
You can't do one limb at a time. You have to kind of do, it's like the arms, you would do 2, to get the leverage. 2 legs, up the legs, yeah, definitely.
But why does it feel so good if it's so bad?
Well, because your body's sending you a message to itch. It's sending it for a reason. That's why it feels so good, because you're actually at one with your body. Your body's telling you to do this.
Yeah.
It needs to do it. It's trying to get something out. And so we feel that relief when we've drawn blood, when we've when we've opened like the lymph vessels basically. So this, I mean, I've spent all my time trying to figure out why are we itching, and this was like this was my kind of resolution, which just felt right for me, because as the body is always doing things to try and heal itself, to try and help us, and that itch response, you feel like it's something you need to help. It's like a sign from your body, like, hey, I just need you to just come here and just do this. I can't do it myself. And so when I started to look at it from a different angle, not that it was wrong, and we were, it's actually your body sending you a message saying, hey, I'm trying to get something out, could you just help me with this? And the reason I settled on that was because you typically will stop itching when we've drawn a bit of blood. Obviously there are times when we kind of go past that, but normally once we've released the pressure, that itch will start to disappear and we'll come out of that trance that we were in.
It is a trance.
It is a trance. It's just like, I'm not here. And I was just like, oh, that makes so much sense. And as I talk about this with parents, they say, yeah, my kid, they go into a trance as soon as they've drawn blood, drawn lymph system, we've broken the vessels basically. They start to come out of that trance. They'll probably still be itchy, because that then is a separate thing, but they'll come out of that trance as soon as that's happened. I'm like, yes.
And I've read somewhere as well that it's also natural, even if there's no lymph thing going on, it's also a natural protection. So if a mosquito lands on you, or if you're brushing past something that might be poisonous, it's the natural response to brush it off, and that is a safeguarding thing. Sometimes it's the best thing, it's going to save you from something bad.
Exactly.
But in this case, it ends up being damaging over and over again, damaging the skin.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to
deal with the problem.
Yeah.
With the mosquito, we've moved it, or with this, we've not dealt with it. We have sometimes. So sometimes I think it's good. No, you're saying it's opening the lymph. Sometimes when I get the little liquid filled things, actually sometimes opening them up stops me itching. So maybe it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think we've got to, everything that I do is about trying to, we've got to think outside the box, haven't we? We've been doing the same thing for this condition for 30 more plus years.
Yeah.
Start thinking outside the box. Anyway, your poem.
Oh yeah, shall I read it now?
Read your poem out.
I wrote it when I was about 12, I think. I found it in my diary. It's called Busy Hands. Busy hands, Mum said. You just can't stop. Don't touch busy hands. I said stop. Busy hands clenched tight. Busy hands stop. Busy hands scratching. How do I stop? I don't want to scratch. I want to stop. They're not my busy hands. I can't stop. Busy hands, Mum said. You never stop. Smack, smack, busy hands. I said stop. It makes me tearful to read that.
That's amazing.
It's so sad though that I felt like that.
That's absolutely amazing, Ruth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And that's how I kind of used to do it. I used to write these poems in some of them aren't as good as that. That's actually quite good. I read that and I thought, oh, I'd be proud to write that today, actually. That's really good. I'm not sure if I've improved my poetry writing since my 12-year-old one.
I think sometimes things flow as well, don't they? Because when you're
in it,
yeah, it's like you're really in it, that emotional state. But that is, you can totally feel probably where you were.
And I used to go and hide, so I would do it in another room or in the bathroom or go up to my bedroom, but I quite often get caught doing it in my bedroom.
Yes. Oh, bathroom.
So I would go in the bathroom and lock the door, yeah.
Bathroom, lock the door, trousers down.
Yeah.
Are you on the toilet? Yes. For 15 minutes? Yes.
You're literally just thinking about it. Oh, so good. And then when you first get home scratch, I quite often do that as well. In the door, trousers down, tights down.
Yeah.
It's the leg.
Yeah, especially with school uniforms.
Yeah.
Because you come home from school, take the school uniform off, and then there would be like the ritual kind of scratching that would go on. That's
the sort of scratching you can have some effect on the ritual scratching when you realise when you're doing it, when you're vulnerable.
Yeah. So I think that's, one thing that for anybody that's dealing with kids with eczema, and maybe you've not had it before, that's just something to highlight really to you guys, is that it's never just, it's not one type of itch. So you've got, you know, emotional triggers that will start the itching. You've actually got the actual physical, the body is kind of triggering these things. So you've really got to just, I suppose, be aware and be sensitive to these different triggers, and they will need different approaches basically, and that's often the difficulty, isn't it? You know, we'll start, the older we get, the more habits we start to get into with scratching. You get the nervousness, and the stress response, which is a huge one, and hence, you know, yeah, you go and hide.
Yeah. Whereas if someone had just said to me, I can see you're really itchy. Are you itchy at the moment? What can we do to help? Because there were so many things available in the house that we could have done. We had ice packs. That's now one of the things I go and do. So if I'm really itchy and I managed to stop myself doing it, I'll go and get the ice packs out. Sometimes I need more than one. Yeah. And you just go and rotate them. But unless you really know how to come out of that trance and how to stop. So it's just one really easy way of doing it is just to say to them, you itchy, what should we do? What do you want? Do you want to wash? Do you want a cold shower? Yeah. Sometimes just distract them. It's so hard.
I think that's a really good tip for parents. I know a lot of parents probably are like, yeah, we're already doing that.
Yeah,
you know?
Easy to say.
Yeah, but it is really important from a, I suppose, just character development perspective, because it helps us become more accepting of our bodies, and certainly for me, I was very angry at my body for a very, very long time, and I held on to that, and that starts to ooze into other aspects of your life. So as adults now, this is what, you know, we end up talking about quite a lot, because there's that shame element of scratching.
Jealousy.
Yeah.
A lot of jealousy.
Yes. Yeah.
I would look at people and think, why is their skin good? They do this, they do that. And
yes, yeah. Eating the blue popsicles.
Yeah. Drinking and just wearing all sorts of cheap, horrible makeup, and think, why is their skin good?
I know, but you know what? Now I look back, and you know how, like, obviously it's so much easier to stay in contact with people that you were at school with, right? I now thank with all my heart the fact that I wasn't allowed e-numbers, the fact that my mother, you know, really paid attention to what chemicals were in the house, all this kind of stuff, because I look at people as we've got older, and, you know, I mean, I'm 37 now, I forget, 37 now, and you start to look at like people of equivalent age, and this is when we start to see
maybe they're not so good,
things taking their toll.
You do look amazing.
Thank you.
And my skin, I do get complimented on how I look normally, but because I'm going through topical steroid withdrawal, I don't feel like I'm quite at my best. But when my skin's good, I'm not bad for 47.
No,
people don't think I'm 47.
No, exactly, and that's the thing, isn't it? When I
can't get away with it.
No, but I do notice actually that I think there is a little bit of a benefit to eczema, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but I do see that, like, when you try and age somebody who's had eczema for a while, they don't look the age.
But if you've managed to kind of come to live with it and accept it and find all your triggers out and get to the place like where you have, for instance, where I wouldn't know you ever had eczema, and I'm hoping that I'll get there one day. Yeah. Those people have amazing skin.
Yeah. It's because you have to go above and beyond. You know, the human body is capable of living for a lot longer than we live for, typically. You know, we're kind of like, oh, you know, we're getting to 70, getting a bit old now. You know, no, the human body is perfectly designed to last way longer than that. It's just that we don't live in a way that supports ourselves. We are the only species on the planet, well, not now, but the only species on the planet that eat cooked food, don't eat food that is actually designed for us, basically. I say not now because unfortunately the poor pets that we have are fed absolute rubbish. And so you start to see like degenerative diseases in dogs and pets and things now. It's like, what are we doing? And so we're constantly complaining about our health, but we are the cause.
Yeah,
our health issues.
we are.
Yeah.
And it just makes you so much more aware of what you eat, what you do, what you put on your skin. And I don't think, before I had started to have real problems with my eczema, I was eating pot noodles and chips and mayonnaise was a meal for me. And I was quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
I wasn't having a problem with that, but there came a point where my skin was just I had to start making my skin my first priority.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, there's the phrase in there, your body is a temple. Yes.
Yeah.
We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to love ourselves. And yeah, it does make a huge difference. And the more, as I say to people, the more actual food you can get in your diet, and by that I mean fruits and vegetables, you know, things that are grown on plants, the more you can get in your diet, the better the skin is. Today is a pear day for me, so I've had 5 pears today.
Oh wow. So you're going to do what have you eaten? So I've had, what did I have for breakfast? I had figs, dried figs, grapes. Oh, and I had some pancakes with that I'd made, and they were fairly healthy. They were flour, oat milk, 2 eggs. They were fairly healthy pancakes.
Good, nice.
And for my lunch, I had salad, raw courgette, some hummus that I made.
Yeah.
Myself.
Nice.
So yeah, I've had quite healthy today. And a pear. It is a pear day. I don't know how you can eat 5 pears though.
Well, I did 2 for breakfast and then 3 for lunch.
That's a lot of pears for lunch. Did you have anything else for lunch? No. That's incredible. I don't know how you do that. We've got a good question here actually from Sarah that I've just spotted. I would sit with my back against the radiator as a child just so I could rub my wrists on the carpet and just be telling my mum I was cold.
Yeah.
I used to use the radiator as well, the heat of the radiator. I would like put a bit on the heat, but carpet scratching, I don't think I ever did that.
I did.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
I have on like this doormat we had. I used to stand there and do my side of my foot on that.
Yeah, the really hard scratchy ones. Sarah, that's a very normal. I used to sit on the radiator and do, not on the radiator, but with my back to the radiator.
Yeah.
And do while I was doing my homework, because I was so cold. And
I was always doing that. Is there something weird in that? I was always cold, always sitting on the radiator.
Circulatory issues.
Sitting on it.
Yeah, so very normal with eczema to have like circulatory issues, and we're looking then towards the thyroid gland potentially needs a bit of support, and probably, as I say, the circulation isn't working as well as it should be. You can generally tell that if it's thyroid, if you've got cold hands and feet, potentially.
Always, yeah. Don't think I've got Raynaud's, but
no, but cold hands and feet definitely. And yeah, big problem with regards to.
Also a really lovely pair. I thought they were the best jeans ever. They were really cheap, and down the seam they sort of had this really sharp plastic that had almost been sewn into the fabric of the thing. I don't think it was meant to be there. I think it's meant to be trimmed off, but the jeans were loose enough that I could use that plastic to scratch the jeans on the side of my legs. Oh, that was good. My mum saying those jeans are a bit tatty. I'm like, no, they're really good. They're good. They're really good. I'll keep these. They're my scratching jeans.
Nobody ever knew.
No, she didn't know. She knows now because she'll probably watch this.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's why.
Those horrible jeans.
I know, but it's so funny, isn't it?
I used to share a room with my sister as well, and we always know when one of the other was scratching, because we'd have bunk beds, and it would be like rocking if one of us was scratching. Sometimes we'd both be scratching the bunk bed and be going, We both had eczema.
Oh, bless you guys. Yeah, it's yeah, with bunk beds, my goodness.
Street scratch.
Need a good scratch. Can
Yeah.
just cover for me. Well, I was just having a look through. I know Sarah's popped some questions in actually when she signed up.
Cool.
So I'm going to have a look at those in a minute. But I just thought for you, Ruth, when you're kind of in that scratching zone, is there anything that you found really useful to, I suppose, kind of like just pull you back out of it? Or because obviously if you're in it yourself and you're kind of zoned out, have you got any tips for bringing yourself back out of that place?
It is really hard. It's really hard. It's something that I've been working on for a really long time. And one of the things that started me on working out is this book. I wouldn't actually recommend this book. It's called The Eczema Solution. I don't know if you've read it.
No.
Elements of this book are really good. So it got you to, and I found this 2006. It actually says on there, and you had to buy a little clicker and count the times you scratched, and it was like thousands. On that day, it's a pretty good day. It was 230. But I used to just click every time. So to start off with, you just let yourself scratch as much as you want. And you get to the point where after you've done that, you can accept that you're scratching. So you don't beat yourself up. And then you can learn then to realise when you are. So I have learned over the years to, not every time, but to know when I am. And I can stop. And I can, sometimes if it's my hands, I can clench my fist. That works quite well. So if my hands are itchy, I can clench my fist, throw my face up and be like, oh, just let a bit of anguish out. Because sometimes it will go. And the other thing I do, it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does, I will talk to it and have a little chat with it. So I'll be like, okay. And I'll just touch it, be like, hello, you come to be itchy. What's itchy? What's itchy? And I'll just sit there chatting to my hand. If I'm in a public place, I'd probably look quite mad, but usually I'm at home on my own. And I just gently touch it and I'm like, pat it, touch it. But then when you're doing that, there is once the fingernails are near the hand, sometimes that goes wrong.
Yeah.
And you end up like, oh! But that can sometimes stop me. I can just it takes a second to be like, okay, I was just starting to scratch. What can I do? Yeah. But I have also had to get rid of a lot of things from my house, like certain combs. I had to get rid of my body brush at one time because I just couldn't be trusted with it.
Yeah.
Things that I would use to scratch, I threw them all away. Yeah. I couldn't even hide them because I would be up in the night with getting them, turning all the lights on and getting into the loft once to get something so I could scratch. So they have to be gone out of the house so I know I can't have them.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard to stop.
I think the you know, when you're in it, it is always difficult. As an adult, it's always difficult to bring yourself back out, which is why I suppose if you're living with somebody, you would want to kind of I suppose discuss maybe a tactic for the other person to trigger you to come back out of those things. And this can work as well if you've got, if you regularly see like friends and family and stuff, instead of them feeling like
scratching,
all they've got is stop scratching, inform them of a way that isn't going to annoy you. This book did have a good tip with that, because you were using the clicker every time. Everyone you lived with was told to say click. So say I was scratching and you could see me scratching and you were thinking, oh, I don't know how to broach it. If you just say click, that's it. That's all you need to say. Yeah. And then when you know that someone's on that journey with, then you can help them, like someone else holding your hand and stroking your hand, not holding you down, because that's the worst thing ever. Yeah, exactly. My ex used to sometimes just try and hold my hands and I'd just be like, oh, I need to scratch. It's like torture. Yeah. But if you're in it together and you're trying to help someone do it, not finding them, but just finding a way. It's again so just touching on what you said a minute ago as well, like talking to your skin. I know this sounds, that's for a lot
Like
of people
really help.
sound really crazy, but it is very helpful. One of the things that I recommend for a lot of the kids that I work with, so we're talking like 6, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, they'll ask me questions, you know, because they know that I was in their shoes. And they're like, what can I do to help my skin when it's itchy? And my response is show it love, which can sound really crazy, but if we're angry at it, then that creates an emotional response in our body, which is a physical response. You know, that is a physical chemicals that are created when we are having these emotions, and they're not helpful.
No.
Anger, frustration. And so, you know, if for kids to have them be like, okay, no, it's just my body, and actually
and it's doing what it needs to do. It's actually helping, trying to help you. It doesn't know how else to do it.
No, exactly. And so, you know, that can just be really helpful. So for family members, partners, whatever it is, we want to be doing something that comes from a place of love, because that will ultimately help the overall goal. And this is probably where we might be losing some people. We're like, what are they doing?
But it is hard to get your head around when you're in that angry place. And I've spent like you years being really angry, and I used to put my cream on angrily, and I can remember someone saying to me, you could do that more gently, and being quite angry with her. But now I realise, because I was putting cream on my face and I was kind of like, I put my arms like that when I'm in the bath. I would wash myself like, really, I'm having a scratch all the time.
So the sign of repressed anger is 2 little lines here, which is my default. 2 little lines.
Yeah, well, I've got massive ones at the moment.
Mine is really interesting because they used to just be there permanently.
Yeah.
But as I've been doing meditation and really like doing work on like self-acceptance of my physical form, they've started to disappear. I don't put anything on them. So this is not like, you know, oh, we need anti-wrinkle cream, right, and stuff like that. No, it comes from literally self-acceptance.
I hope this is my topical steroid withdrawal forehead that's going to heal up.
Yeah, but it's interesting because, you know, when you look at people, I know like it's common, but from a Chinese medicine perspective, the sign when you look at somebody's face, it's like the two crinkles there is repressing anger, and this is exactly what we've done for years. You know, and so.
I know. I remember another really cool one, which is good for kids. I don't know if the people on the call have children, but this I got from the National Eczema Society, and it's similar to talking to your skin concept, in that she visualizes a little army of people, like on Fraggle Rock. We had the doozers. So they've got hats on. They're proper workmen, and when you're itchy, they're the ones that they're coming out, and they are on their way to the itchy spot. And they're going to start smoothing it over, and they're going to start moisturising it and making it clear. And they're not meaning to hurt you, but they're coming out to that spot to try and help.
Yeah.
And they're kind of your army of helpers.
Yeah.
So that's how she kind of sits there. She's itching. She sits there and visualises. Okay, they're going to be there in a minute, and it's going to stop itching so much. They're just on their way. This little army of people.
They're so cute as well.
And they're going to bring the little moisturiser, and they're going to make it go away. It sounds ridiculous, but I mean, the alternative is to just carry on being angry at your skin because it's shit. And yeah, it's shit, and it is painful, and it is horrible living with it. But people have worse things, and I know when that isn't a nice thing to hear. If you say, "Oh, my skin's really itchy," well, people are dying of coronavirus, and there are people starving in some countries, and there is a lot of oppression in many countries, and you're so fortunate. That's not helpful in the moment, but it is true. You have to kind of choose to be different, and it's really hard.
Yeah, and I think the way I've started to look at it is very much like my skin is very responsive, and if there's something in my body that's not right, and my body uses its skin very easily to get rid of it, basically. And so I see it as a good thing now. You know, it's like, okay, my body was just getting stuff out, which is fantastic.
Mm.
It takes a while to really sort of shift your mindset, and getting rid of the itch does help to shift that mindset, I would say.
Yeah. So that there's all of the other things that you do to try and be less itchy.
Yeah.
So eating the right things, supporting your body with supplement, herbal things.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things.
So many things.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, there's so many things that you also need to be doing.
Yeah. One of the things I just wanted to touch on as well was I've done a video around this before, but I suppose there's two different types of itch, really, or itch or flare, however people choose to term it. I call them a healing crisis, basically.
Yeah.
Two different types. One is where it's not a good itch. So when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking of, you've literally come into contact with something that is an allergen, and it is touched your broken skin, gone in and created an immune response.
Completely vile type of itch.
Yes, yeah. And so we're dealing with hives possibly, but very uncontrollable itching. And you know, you guys will know obviously if there's an immune response, or if there's like some kind of an allergic response going on. That is where, you know, you don't want to be waiting and kind of being there.
No, those are horrible.
Yeah, that's the one where you want to be, okay, all right, we need to
fan on,
ice pack, sort this out.
So if I've got a topical steroid flare going on, I have to lie down in a dark room with the fan on and an ice pack, and that is all I can do.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those more, you need more intervention going on.
Yeah.
Basically. And then the other side of things is what I would call the healing crisis, which is where you kind of go through, it's like a flare repair cycle. And you'll get this with TSW as well. But very, very, very normal from an eczema response. We see it typically as the eczema getting worse, but actually this is the body deciding that it's got something it needs to get out. So provided you are supplying your body with the nutrients it needs to fix things, then we're all good, basically. And that cycle will probably keep going, because often for a lot of us there's a lot of rubbish, a lot of waste that needs to come out of the body. So we'll go through these cycles, and it's like the body has got enough energy to clear some toxins out. It clears them out. It can't get them out by the stool, the urine and the sweat, so it sends them out by the skin. We see that as a flare up. Then what happens is we'll spend our time maybe suppressing it, but actually if we can have the right foods, maybe do detox baths, be kind to the skin while it's doing it, it's going to repair much quicker. And then things will calm down again, so that's healing crisis done. And often during that phase the skin might thicken, because like if you've broken, you know, like if you fall over as a kid and, you know, scrape your knee, then a scab forms. Normal. This is exactly the same thing that happens with eczema when the skin is healing. The scab forms. So people get really scared with the thickening of the skin, but that's just part of the healing process. So, you know, and then it's that cycle, isn't it? Because
then it flakes off. Yeah.
Going and going and going, and we itch as well while the skin is thickening. And just going back to what you said about the eczema, the little tip from the Eczema Society as well, with the little building people coming out. That's what's happening during that repair stage, right? There's much more activity going on in the body, and that activity is going to trigger some kind of itching as well. And typically, if you can think back to having maybe grazed your knee as a kid, when that scab is kind of ready to come off, it itches.
It's itchy, yeah.
You know, and so if you can watch your child and you'll see the skin is thickening and they're starting to scratch, you will probably be wanting to maybe support them in getting that skin softened so that it can come away a lot easier.
Some salt baths are good.
Detox baths.
There are loads of really nice natural moisturisers, which we talked about the other week.
Yes, indeed.
But I also bandage myself up. So that's one thing I found. It particularly works on limbs and not so much on torso and head and neck. Although neck, I have bandaged my neck up before, but that seems to, I can get that off too easily. But I can bandage my arm up and put loads of like nice moisturizer on. I can give it a nice treat, put loads of moisturizer on, and then bandage it. And let it. It seems to stop it itching as well. Nice, not too tight, not stopping the circulation, but firm bandage really soothes. It's like tubular bandages as well. To help me sleep at night. And I think sometimes it's avoiding triggers. So also having fingernails really short. And I have heard that women say acrylics are good, but I can't afford to keep that maintained. But I would have thought they'd be worse, but they say they don't do so much damage. I can't really say because I haven't had it, but I keep the nails really short, so I can't scratch. When I try, it's annoying because there's nothing there to scratch with, but that helps as well because you then don't do damage. Yeah,
definitely. I think I mean now I have long nails because I never had them when I was a kid, so now I'm like, I'm gonna grow them. It's great. But yes, I have heard that from an acrylic nail perspective. Again, I think because
they're very firm, and this is probably really bad advice, but I use something like, if I am really itchy and I want to scratch, sometimes I need to give myself a scratch, and I will just allow myself a couple of minutes and then stop, and then I feel calmer afterwards. And sometimes I need to have a scratch, and the safest things to use are something really blunt, so you just have to make sure you don't do it with something, because then I used to end up with just gashes from scratching because I'd be using inappropriate things, like really dangerous, like a sharp bit of nail or something. So it's not good to scratch, and it's not good to encourage people to find a thing to scratch with, but sometimes you're going to need it.
And I think also just making people aware, because I used to turn to scissors to scratch with, and and
scissors? Did you say scissors?
I said scissors. Because this is the thing, it's like, for somebody who doesn't deal with itching,
you must cut yourself with them.
No, I was very, very careful, but people just don't realize the length that we will go to.
Can I tell you what I use, which is bad? I use tweezers, but I use that end, not that end. And occasionally I'll use that one by mistake, that end at night, and be like, but this end, it doesn't ever cut my skin. And I try and do it really gently.
And I think for parents, the reason I say that is not to give people ideas, but to let them understand that, if you're not able to support or able to kind of have these conversations, then we're going to resort to
doing it.
They're doing it already, because you're trying to self-soothe.
And also not to. I think that the guilt, I felt so much guilt, and even now I still do sometimes, but I try not to do that as well. So part of being kind to my skin is being kind to me as well. And if I have scratched and done some damage, it's okay. It'll heal. And the other thing to think about when you're scratching is that it will pass. So the other thing I tell myself is, it's to try and stop myself, is that it's going to be over in 10, 20 minutes. With topical steroid withdrawal, it can last all day, and I'm not joking. But it does pass. Every single scratch passes, even if it's not for very long. So you just have to. Topical steroid withdrawal is another.
It's a whole other ball game.
Next itch kind of passes. And you kind of have to be sitting there going, it's gonna go. I'm not gonna be like this forever. But when you're in it, you're just like, everything is about that itch.
So
only thing when you don't need to top social media at all is not distracting when you're itching.
No, it's not. No. Few things, I think, very few things that are distracting. I just wanted to just touch on something that I've recommended to people for their kids, I suppose, if they are in that kind of like real deep trance itching state. So tissue salts or cell salts are something that can be used.
Tissue salts, what are they?
So tissue salts are something that are kind of, they were invented, the wrong word, no, they were discovered, that's the word I'm looking for, by a gentleman called Dr. Schussler. So you'll often find Schussler's tissue salts. And what they are is they're minerals basically, but they're combination minerals. And there are, so I talk a lot about them in the work that I do, but that they can be very helpful with like just reminding the body of how to use its own minerals and to remember what it's meant to be doing with them.
You bathe in that, or
you can take them orally, so they're little pills.
Okay.
You can bathe in them as well. You can add them to creams. So really useful. Have a look on the Eczema Revolution thing, because there's this whole like 12-page handout on tissue cells.
Wow.
So you have to have a look at that. But there's 3 of them that I will typically recommend, and they are, one of them is nat sulf, which is sodium sulfate basically. Now that is helping with like water elimination and water balancing in the body. So typically when we're itchy, it could be because we're too dry. If we've got wet eczema, it could be because, you know, there's like ooze and stuff.
Yeah.
So that one helps with that. Nat phos, which is sodium phosphate, is about helping the body to eliminate acid and neutralize, which is what we need to, what our body's trying to do, is eliminate the acids. So that one is very, very helpful if we're zoning out while scratching. It doesn't stop us scratching. The thing is, there is nothing that naturally is going to just magically stop the itch. It just does nothing. But what these do is, if say your typical scratch fest is like an hour, it might reduce it to half an hour. And it just speeds up the process. So nat sulf, nat phos, and calcium sulfate. So calc sulf is the other one. That's called a system purifier. They've all got little names. So that's the system purifier, and it helps helps the body just eliminate anything that shouldn't be in there. Basically, that's.
Oh, I need to read this handout.
So yeah, really, really useful. There's only 12 of them, 12 tissue salts. They all do different things, but those are the 3 that I've typically recommended. And if you can only get one, I typically say the nat phos is the best one to get, because it's a good all-rounder from an acid elimination perspective.
A couple of questions.
Yeah.
I have got
best way to keep cool at night, Ruth?
I do use a fan. I don't find it dries out my skin, but I have it sort of over my head rather than directly on me. I also brought this to the call. I also have this, which is amazing. It's actually got something that's stuck in it. Oh, I think it got caught on something. Anyway, this is my neck fan, which just charged up with a USB, so I can just grab this in the night. It may or may not be charged up because I've been sleeping so well. Oh yeah, so you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but you turn it on. It also has lights, which freak me out when they come on at night. So that's good. Fan kind of helps, but I think it's really important what you wear as well at night. I find that the backs of my knees can get really itchy, so I actually put a tubular band, you know, like the band things. I still am doing that. I used to be doing it to stop myself scratching, and it's more of a comfort thing, so I put them on the bottom, just on my shins, and it stops my knee, that crease, touching the other bit of my leg and getting hot and itchy. I don't know if I'm just doing it now out of habit, but if I've got really itchy forearms or itchy legs, it doesn't help with all of the body, obviously. But natural bedding.
Yes, natural bedding, really good one. I mean, for me, I don't sleep in anything basically, because it's the one time that you can be free and
I do at the moment, because I'm putting emollient on, and I just saves me changing the sheets quite so often, but I quite often I'm too hot. So what have you found to be the best natural emollients, Ruth? Okay, we've talked about this, so if you want all of our talk about emollients, that was in the last session, but this one is lovely. Lion's Leaf is a really lovely natural emollient, and the other one I really like is Barmonds. I don't know if you haven't heard of them. Their brand, their logo is like it's like balm and then ONDS. Their products are lovely and natural, and I do find them really soothing. They do have plant oils, so they do. Barmans do testers. I think Lion's Leaf probably do as well. So always try a bit, because you might be sensitive to any of the ingredients, but I find they really help.
Yeah, definitely. And Sarah, the call
It's quite Celeste, yeah. She's saying that she's been given something by her doctor.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
So
no, stop using that immediately.
Don't need that.
Why do doctors prescribe things like that? It's like one of the top skin irritants, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. This is what we're trying to do, though, isn't it? We're trying to just get the awareness raised.
Yeah.
You know,
I also have a really strict sleep routine, which I'm pretty good at sticking to, and I have to start winding down to sleep quite early. And I know it sounds like a lame thing, but I do take some sleep tea, and anything that I can do, I try not to be on my phone after 9 o'clock, although I'm not always good at that.
Yeah, mine switches off automatically, so
I should set mine up to do that, really.
Really.
But I read. I also find doing a meditation, if I'm feeling really anxious before bed, I do kind of a really short yoga, 10-minute sort of relaxed yoga.
Yeah.
Anything to just try and stop the body being anxious before you go to bed. But it still sometimes get itchy at night. But
yeah, typically as well. Just for you guys that are watching, I just want to summarize why we get more itchy at night. So cortisol is our anti-inflammatory hormone, basically. So this is going to be, we typically have more of that secreted in the morning, and during the day it starts to drop. And that's just the natural transition as to what's meant to happen during the day. So at night we have less of this. And so what that means is that we're probably going to be more itchy at night. And when you're seeing these cycles occur, that to me is a good thing, because obviously with TSW, you know, things are hormones are all over the place, aren't they? And so almost when we get back to being more itchy at night, we know that the adrenals are coming back into balance, actually. And so
why you itch at night? Because the adrenals are.
Yeah, because everything's calming down, and when we secrete less of our anti-inflammatory hormones at night, because the sleep hormones are coming in completely different. Which is why when we're ill, we always feel better in the morning, and slowly but surely over the day you start to feel like, oh god, you know, like if we've got a cold or we're trying to fight something off, you feel worse at night and you can't sleep at night because you're not secreting the hormones that are anti-inflammatory that are going to be keeping us down. So it's a very normal to be itchy at night. Where I see clients where they're like, oh yeah, we're not itchy at night, we're like really itchy in the morning, I know that we've got some glandular hormonal work. That's
really interesting, because my early topical steroid withdrawal thing, I was rabid in the mornings.
Yeah, because it's all messed up. But then what have you been doing when we've been using steroids all those years? The adrenal glands are very confused as one point, but also they're not working properly. It's like we've been supplementing them, and now all of a sudden they've got to remember how to do their job. So we're kind of like rebooting them, basically. So the longer you go through TSW, the more normal we become as the adrenal glands come back online and work as they should, basically. But we can do stuff to support them.
So when you are itchy at night, what can you do to stop it?
Scratch? No.
If it's normal.
So if we're itchy at night, ideally you want to be keeping the room as cool as possible. As you say, you know, we mentioned about the fan, but not having the fan directly on you.
Yeah, that does just irritate you.
Yeah, that can make a certain part of you really cold. You want to really move the air around the room. Depending on where you live, you could have the window open.
Yeah.
Obviously that's tricky because I could never do that in summer because of the pollen. So often there's multiple issues with all the different suggestions. So it's about finding the one that works for you.
And getting like a through draft and keeping the curtains shut so that the room isn't roasting when you go in there.
Yeah.
My house is upstairs and it's really hot.
Yes.
All the time.
And having a good routine before bed. So exactly what you said, with calming the nervous system down. So, you know, nighttime teas, things like chamomile, you know, those kind of calming herbs. Passion flower is a good one. If you're struggling to fall asleep, passion flower is a beautiful herbal tea to actually have before bed. It will really calm things down. You can mix it with chamomile, that's absolutely fine. Really nice. But calming that nervous system is going to really help to kind of calm down the itching. Duvet as well, as much as possible. You want to be kind of using as light as possible in the summer months, but also being aware that actually a heavy duvet can calm an itch down as well.
Yeah, it's not helping me at the moment because I'm too hot, but I've got a weighted blanket, and that really helps, but it's only really effective in the winter when I can have it, because it does like I can have it at the moment and I start to feel really calm, and then I start to feel really, 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 really hot. Like throw it off, but it still helps. It just you get warmed up, don't you, in bed, and then I have to chuck it off.
Yeah. And so there's always that kind of balance in the summer months between temperature and having the kind of weight on you, basically. But yeah, that's typically there's a lot of sweating going on then, you know, you're eliminating as well at that point. So,
and I have tried to buy really nice natural fibre like bedding as well.
Yes,
which helps. And if you've got a dust allergy, then you do need to look at things like what the mattress is made of, whether you want dust to mattress covers on there. I don't have those because I feel like then everywhere else I go to sleep, I'm just unable to sleep completely because there's dust in other places. But I don't make my bed, so I have the duvet right straight down to the bottom, and I keep my room as cool as possible all the time to reduce the amount of dust mites that are there, and I keep it as clean as I can. It's quite uncluttered. It's also a very I try to keep it really tidy and really calming, and it's my sleeping tranquil place.
No electronics, basically.
No, I've got oil diffuser. That's about the only thing that plugs in my bedroom, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's really nice thing to just sort of get a calm atmosphere as well. But I think with I suppose coming back to the bedding, I have a water bed. It's something that I invested in.
Oh, that's probably the best thing to have.
A long time ago, yeah.
You have to have like special reinforcement of a room. How heavy are they? No.
Well, I've lived in different places, had my bed in different flats and different floors, and you know, no problems at all. So, absolutely fine. But I got it because of obviously dust mites can't live in a water.
No, that's a really good idea.
So a bit of an investment, but it's really comfortable. In winter, because it's water, it's got a temperature regulator on it. So it's in winter when you get in, it's like a giant hot water bottle. So you just set it to the body temperature. So it's nice and warm in winter, but it's actually nice and cool in summer as well, which is really
Well, I'd probably get too hot because I'm really hot.
There's a temperature thingy, so if
Did it do half and half, like if your partner is hot and you're cold? Ooh, I quite like that thought of that.
So it's really really nice, really comfy.
The ultimate dust-free bed.
There's always going to be some element of padding because there's the covers and things like that, so you're never going to completely eradicate the dust mite. But the thing is, it's not, dust mites they're always going to be around, so we've got to support our bodies to strengthen and deal with it. That's it.
So I realised at one point I had completely dust-free almost house with wood floors, no curtains, but I couldn't be in anyone else's house. It'd be so easy.
Exactly.
So I kind of need to survive in a bit of dust.
Yes, because that's the thing. We make such a good job of that, keeping the houses clean, and you know we're focusing in the wrong area, because you then can't leave your home.
No, I need to get my family to just dust more.
I know, it's like, no, we're addressing the wrong problem. It's, you know, oh yeah, it's crazy. So we want to turn things around, and we want to strengthen the body so that the body can deal with dust, right? And I've posted some pictures because I've been decorated this office, and I was like sanding the walls.
Yeah,
it's all, yeah, teal, it's
lovely.
Sanding the walls. I've got dust all over me, and no problem, absolutely no problem.
Really? But that's a different kind of dust, isn't it?
It is, but again, you know, now I don't dust my house.
No.
I
think your own dust is different, I find.
Well, when I go other places, I'm not. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, so, I will get over it.
Yeah. But it's just building up the barriers, building our body back up.
Yeah.
People feel like, oh, you know, I'm allergic to this, that's it for life. No, it isn't. You know, the body can deal with this stuff. We've just got to strengthen it. It's like hay fever. I've got rid of that. You know, my goodness, I spent all my childhood crying practically because I'm
getting better. I'm still having watery eyes, but I'm not taking anything for it.
Yeah. So
I'm much better than I was.
Baby steps. Forget that. But yeah, same with the dust mites. It's the same principle. We're just supporting the body to deal with them better.
The other thing, which sounds really babyish as well, but I really find sleep stories help me. I don't know if it's that back to being read a story before bed, but I have the Calm app, and there might be other apps that do it, but I really find that helpful. And sometimes I'll do a calm meditation as well, like a 10-minute calm meditation just before I go to bed. They're quite good to do in the morning as well, but at the end of the day, and then if I still can't sleep, I'll pop a sleep story on. And I very rarely hear the end of the story. Don't know what they're about.
Boring.
Just asleep. It really helps.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Love it. That's great.
And there's one other thing that I did get, because we've nearly come to the end. We have. There was something that I got from the Calm app thing. They have a load of master classes, and there's one about habit reversal. And this was one of the things that I listened to that really helped me. And I've listened to one about, it was about habit reversal, talking about addiction and things like that. And I started listening to it, and I thought, oh, this isn't really relevant because I'm not. It's a different. Okay, I'm addicted to steroids, but that's different. I'm not having a constant feeling in my brain that I want them. I'm not addicted to alcohol. I'm not overeating. I'm not addicted to gambling or anything like that. But it was looking at things like that. So, and it did really help. So the way you quit things like that is to realize that what you're doing ultimately is bad for you, but you're doing it as a reward. So you're drinking to make yourself feel better or to get things out of your head, but then the next day you feel bad. So it wasn't a very nice reward. So the reward for the itch is to scratch, and the next morning you don't feel good. You feel good because you've done loads of damage. So it's finding healthier, safer, like we talked about earlier, healthier, safer ways to live in this body and this skin that are less destructive and kinder to you. So actually the habit reversal, if you go into that in detail and read it, is really helpful, because you talks about all different things and how to be aware and curious about why you're doing these things. And the itching is slightly different because it is that sometimes something is physically going on that you have to deal with. But there is a lot of habitual scratching as well. And one of the bits is that it goes that you will not die if you don't have another drink. You won't die if you don't eat another Snickers. So you kind of have to think, no, okay, I won't die if I don't scratch. Sometimes you are still going to scratch, but it really helped me to start turning around in my head how I looked at my body, how I wasn't being very kind to my body.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to investigate.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, and I think it's a very, very pertinent, I suppose, for lots of us adults who've grown up dealing with this, because it's that kindness to ourselves that often is a bit lacking.
Yeah, and I write down to like what moisturizer you put. I mean, putting something on your skin that burns is definitely not kind. So go back to your doctor about that, definitely. But finding things that are nurturing and kind for your whole body, especially your skin at the moment. But you need to look after your whole body to heal your skin.
Yeah, totally.
The brain.
Yeah, all starts here. All starts here. And also visualizing. So the one thing that you've got to almost start to see yourself through this.
And that's one thing I really struggle with.
Yeah. And so it's...
Because I don't know what that feels like.
No. But we've got to kind of get to a point where we're trying to embody and trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It can be hard at the start, it can be hard when you're going through it, but as you know, it's just one step at a time, and things will start clearing, and you start to feel more confident and more comfortable and be like, oh, actually no, this could be possible, my goodness, you know. But when you're so in it, it's so difficult to even imagine what it would be like. And you know, yeah, I can totally understand that, because a few years ago he said to me, you're not gonna need cream at all, you know, be like, yeah, whatever.
I'm like, I can't go out. Like, even if I went to the spa or swimming, I have to have a little pot of something in the pocket with me everywhere I go. Like, I can't go out without stuff. I almost feel panicky thinking about that, and I don't quite believe it can happen, but I want to. I hope it can.
Yeah. But we've got, you know, it's getting from that place of hoping it can.
Yeah.
To totally can. And that's where the being kind to yourself, the mindfulness, the meditation, those kind of things will start to open up a world of belief, and that's how you move through into
that. I actually find the visualization bit hard. I can write about stuff, and I can have actions and do positive things to try and help, but visualization I really struggle with. And I had some therapy before. There was one section which was all about visualization, and I just couldn't do it. It was like, visualize your safe place where you go, where you won't have anxiety and panic attacks. And I was like, I don't know. But you have to come up with a place, and I was like, oh, I couldn't do it. In the end, I did come up with a tree, and I had this tree that was safe, and I had a tree house in the tree that I would go to, but it didn't really work for me, because I couldn't ever, when I was anxious, feel like I was going to go into my tree house. I was like, I can't visualize not having this happening to me. I can't. I found it so hard. Visualization.
And I think sometimes it's so when I say visualize, it's like I would never see anything, right? So this is the kind of weirdness, I suppose. It's more like a gut feeling, I suppose, would be how I would explain it, for me anyway. I'm very bad at visualizing things. So, you know, if somebody's like, oh, imagine what this room is going to look like when it's all done.
I can't. I can't do it.
Not possible, right?
Oh, what would this be like in red? I don't know.
Yeah, don't know. Well, you go and get it, and I'll have a look at it. You know, I can't. I'm not somebody that can see things if they're not there, which is a nightmare when you're having to decorate a room or do anything DIY related. But for me, it was about, I suppose, a feeling of trust in myself. I suppose that's probably the best way of explaining it. So it's not that I could see the me that I am now without the eczema. I could never visualize that, but I felt, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna prove you guys wrong that said that there's no cure for this, and that I'm gonna have to just live with it for the rest of my life. That was probably my way of doing it, because I'm very I'm more of a doer rather than a
I'm determined, but I'm not going back on steroids, so I have to find another way. I either have to accept how things are at the moment, but they're going in the right direction. I can see they are. Like, you can't see on my skin at the moment, but I've got flakes all over my forehead. I can feel them. All over here is all flaky. I wonder if you can see
a little bit.
And for the first time, I'm able to leave them. So I've been out all day with flaky skin, and every time I put sun cream on, I've been able to feel it, and it just feels horrible. But it's not a problem. It's not itching, and I'm not feeling like I have to sit there. My favourite thing would be to do, I love
Get
it,
your
get my
tweezers.
mirror and sit and take them all off. Spend hours doing that. Peel them all off. I'm just sitting there with them on there, and they're not hurting me. They're not itching me.
No. One step at a time. See, I like it. We're getting somewhere.
Getting there is so much better, because I used to just be. I used to hate every bit of it. Hate it.
Yeah. And I think
I can't go out like this. Well, I can actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the stigma and the, oh, what are people going to say? I can't do this. I can't do, yeah. So we're so critical of ourselves. So.
A lot of people don't notice.
No.
Most people won't say anything.
Most people are so absorbed in their own problems that they probably won't even notice. It's generally the scratching that they notice.
Yeah. Some people will notice, and some of them will comment, but
yeah. And again, that comes down to the self-acceptance, because you can't stop people from commenting, but we have to feel comfortable in ourselves to be able to just.
And it's actually, this is another thing, we could do a whole thing about this, couldn't we? About how to deal with it, because I have learnt some good ways. Sometimes I just say I don't want to talk about it, but other times I'll say, oh, I've got a doctor, I'm going through topical steroid withdrawal, I know what I'm doing. By the way, you're my doctor, not my doctor. I'm having special advice about how to look after my skin, and this is just what situation I'm in at the moment. So I don't need that. No, I don't need the product that you use. I don't need to know about your friend with eczema who cured it by drinking celery juice. And I don't, all these things, advice that people give you. Have you been to the doctor? Yes, I have. That's why I'm like this, and I'm never going back again.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we need to do another one about that.
Definitely.
We need to add one onto the programme of stupid things people say to you with eczema and how to respond.
What not to say, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll probably wrap up, I think. That is a good idea, because we could just keep talking about
I want to talk more about scratching. I've got so much more we could talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sure we can add some more in randomly to the
yeah, this is a good subject. I think we could do it again, because I think everyone is itching all the time with this condition, so have to try and stop that cycle.
It is one of the last symptoms to disappear, and when it does, it's very, very freeing. But also it doesn't necessarily mean that the journey is done and completely fixed. It just means that you've done a really good job, and the skin isn't having to become involved in detox, but there's probably still other things that we want to support, because we're just a machine, aren't we? And it's, if we don't look after ourselves, we're going to break down, basically.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, awesome, so like when the skin's clear and the itching's gone, then I'm good, aren't I? And it's like, well, you're still a machine. Would you just never take your car for service, or service anything, or clean the drains in the house, or we're constantly looking after everything else apart from.
And it's finding out what it is that your body needs, isn't it? Which bits it needs support with.
Exactly. So yeah, there's so many things that we can do continually. But yeah, I think for you guys on the course, especially for nighttime, that kind of passion flower is going to be a really good herb, and ashwagandha, which we've already spoken about, because I know you're on that at the moment. I think so.
I am taking that.
Yeah,
I've also got some sleep tea that's called Chuckling Fox. I don't always think we should brand check, but the Chuckling Fox sleep tea is really helping me.
Yeah, really good. That's a nice one. We have Pucker brand at home, so
it's a mix of the passion flower and chamomile and lavender. It's really nice.
Things like that. Yeah,
might have in it. It's really lovely.
Yeah, really nice. Really, really nice.
It
smells a bit dodgy,
but actually with hops and stuff in the pillow. I used to have a pillow but I haven't got that anymore. I don't know if it helps really. Again, really harm.
It's one of those things that if you feel it's helping, then it probably is, right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people are like, oh, is this the right thing to be doing? Or, and actually at the end of the day, it's like, well, what's right for you? Do you feel it's helping? If you feel it's helping, continue. We've got to own it. Everybody's different. Everybody's different.
Everyone's different. And I certainly have had periods where I'm not itchy, so I know I'm getting closer.
It's possible.
Right now, I have no itching.
Good.
I was a bit itchy from my legs had hives on them from getting too hot on the walk and stuff.
Yeah.
That's all going down now.
And you've done a long walk today, so that's amazing. Well done.
9 miles, yeah. It's too hot really, but
It's a warm day.
that's actually good for me at the moment. The sweating is really good. Anything I can sweat. If I sweat a lot, if I exercise a lot, then there's less damage from the. I mean, my situation is a bit different to normal eczema because it splits the skin to get toxins out. So if I'm sweating regularly, they come out better.
Yeah, they
will. The days when I haven't sweat, it can be really, really painful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Good to hear, Ruth. This is progress. I like it. Excellent. All right. Well then, lovely ladies. Thank you for
coming.
Thank you.
Anyone? Yeah. If anyone's got any other questions, we can always answer them after the.
Yeah.
After the. We'll just get in touch with one of us on one of our places.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I will upload this, and so it's accessible for you guys if you want to download any of the previous.
Yeah, is there a comments bit? You know where you have them on your website? Is there a place for people to comment?
Yes, I think I've set up comments and discussion on the where they're all held basically. So on like the little container, the course container where they're all held. So yeah, please feel free to comment, add your questions and things like that on the discussion. If you're watching this in the replay, then it should be in the box somewhere to the top right. I believe there's a little discussion button, so you can click on that and just add any comments or questions.
I meant to look at what we were talking about next week. I can't remember. I've literally rushed my walk very unprepared.
Yoga, skin yoga.
Brilliant. I've got lots of research that I've done for that.
Excellent.
Hopefully
that was your suggestion, so I'm gonna come and quiz you about skin yoga because it's something that you've been doing. So
I have.
Excited on that one. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Moby, and we will see you all guys.
See you next Monday. Enjoy the rest of the bank holiday.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye bye.